Talk about this concept of connecting that last mile. I think that's a really interesting concept. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of pointless to have a network unless you can get, if you like, all of the receiving demand and generating nodes onto the network. So, we've done an awful lot of work, and that's been a big part of our work since we have become part of SAP, is ensuring we have seamless integration firstly from our SAP ecosystem, but not just that, also all other ecosystems.
Right.
So we have connections, standard NetWeaver adapter connections for our SAP clients. We've also announced RDS packages to really accelerate and make the transacting experience move from almost like from an integration to an activation. And we also just announced as well, if we start looking at the SME side on the sell side, connection to Business One. 30, 40, 50,000 plus Business One users today, even more. Don't quote me that, I'm sure it's more. Connected seamlessly to the Ariba network. And so just having that collaboration starting to fly within the ecosystem is huge. But secondarily as well, we offer a raft of other capabilities through some of our partners like Dell Boomi to integrate even the smallest or largest systems if they're not SAP clients.
Right.
David, to close us out here, I'm a customer looking at an RDS solution. What are 3 lessons learned I need to know to go in with my eyes wide open?
I tell you, probably the biggest one is just the understanding of what you get with an RDS, and more importantly, what you don't get. It's not a greenfield installation of a solution from SAP. It is a pre-configured, pre-scoped solution. And so as long as you understand it, you don't try to change the project, then you're going to get very quick time to value for that RDS solution. Another is to recognize that throughout the project and make sure that you are able to table those extensions, those enhancements you want to capture post-RDS, and to really stay focused on the fact that that's post-RDS work. It's not going to change the project. And then beyond that, it's a fantastic opportunity. The RDS opportunities out there from SAP are a way to really evaluate and get in and really see if these solutions are going to make sense for your business without having to go through a full-blown implementation. It's a really simple way and a very quick way to get your feet wet with products that maybe you're already licensed for, that are currently shelfware, to see if they're going to provide value to the business without having to go through a traditional implementation.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great
Thank
discussion on RDS.
Do you think as more customer case stories get out there, because there are some, but there are few than perhaps more customers would like, because with HANA it's kind of a lot of companies are taking a wait and see, but those ones that are going to the labs, do you think as more of those get out there, we'll see more traction for HANA as you guys are able to help more customers? And
oh yeah, 100%. I think that the adoption rate for HANA is going to be through the roof. There's no doubt in my mind. I think the questions are still, where is it applicable?
Right.
What is it? Is it really truly non-disruptive to go through the migration?
Yep.
And last but not least is I think they're also recognizing that there's a lot of work to be done to retrofit your where you are today, so that you can go do a HANA project. Meaning you got to be on the right release levels. You got all that stuff has to be in order before you can even go and do the project.
Right.
So I think they're kind of getting their arms around all that, but we're seeing the adoption rate really increase truly on a month-by-month basis.
Where do you think we are in terms of the HANA evolution? I know, it was 2011 really when it came out in the news. In terms of the overall scale, will we look back at 2013 and in a couple years and be like, wow, look how far, is it just going to be exploded, you think?
Exploding. I think we're not even scratching the surface yet, truly. And I think right now there's, a lot of low-hanging fruit customers that particularly the big customers that have been kind of waiting for this. But I think we're just scratching the surface with regards to a lot of actually development that will happen. I think you're going to see an explosion in companies developing solutions on top of HANA that will be made available to the customer community, kind of like an Apple App Store, and I think you're going to see an explosion in that space.
You have this philosophy internally now. Why not HANA?
Yep.
Finish that sentence for me if you could, Brian and Shankar. Why not HANA?
It's been hard for me. I come from BW, and it's been hard for me to justify why a reporting solution should go on BW rather than HANA. So I keep asking people why, tell me a reason so we can justify this on some other system, not HANA, and I never came up with something till 2 years, and I don't think we will see any solution that can be that why not it can't be done on Hana.
How do you, if you want to disrupt yourself, if you're in a place where, do you just go cold turkey and say, this is what I'm going to focus on, this is what I'm passionate about, or do you give yourself sort of a timeline to get to that ultimate goal?
Well, sometimes I think you do have to just jump.
Yeah, that's the dare.
Yeah, sometimes you have to, because sometimes it's something that won't get done if you won't jump. I mean, when I think about when I left Wall Street, you know, here I am at the top of my game. I was, in retrospect, probably a little bit impetuous. I just said, I'm going to do this. I hadn't figured out what my savings were for the next 3 years, but it just felt like I must do that. Yeah. Ideally, you will do some planning, both financial and emotional, and make plans. Sometimes you can't, and sometimes it's more important that you jump and take the risk. But in the meantime, for those people who want to but they're not quite ready to, what I really recommend is that you come up with some little project that requires you to have some accountability and deliverables. I'll give you a specific example.
Okay.
When I first wanted to start, if you want to write a book, for example, if you just say, I'm going to write a book, it may never happen. But if you say to yourself, well, I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to start blogging once a week, and once you have a blog, and you have even 50 people following you, you have customers or accountability. And so then they start pulling you toward your goal because there's an accountability there. And so what I would say is, for people who want to disrupt and they're not quite ready to, find some type of customer for whatever it is you want to do next, and start moving in that direction.
We talked about user experience. You know, the next new shift of users coming in, millennials, are expecting ease of use. And Bill, I think this is something you had touched on and done some research on.
Right.
And
Bill McDermott talked about it in the keynote this morning. So you're looking for, this is what Time Magazine called potentially the next great generation. So, and some of us have kids that are in this age, right? So they're between 1980 roughly and 70 and 90. And so those people, there's 80 million in the US alone. They really want good, fun, but predictable technology. And they want a work environment where they can swarm in teams if they want to, that they can innovate, that they can create, that they can make things. And the last thing they want to do is they want to use a business system that gives them a very unpleasant user experience. And for them, you know, all you have to do is look at some of the young people out there who use a bad app, a bad mobile app. That's the first and only time they use a bad mobile app. And then it takes a lot of customer attention to try to bring them back in. So, I mean, I think that's just really the new normal of user experience that the millennials are bringing to the table. And they are our main workforce for the next 30 to 40 years, you know. So this could be a real great opportunity to really capture that next great generation.
Lisa, what we've been doing in the last 2 years with Leadership 2.0, tell me a little bit about what you've seen over the last 2 years, the feedback you've received.
I think Leadership 2.0 has really given a lot of people ideas and options of how to lead, how to work amongst teams, and we really found out how to further our education and from an individual perspective of how to really reach the goals that a person wants to reach. And I used a lot of examples throughout our blogs and talking about going back to school and furthering our education. I've also written about setting goals, because we all have individual goals, and then you also have goals collectively as a team as well as a company, and how a person, an individual, can achieve all three of those successfully. So we've had a lot of good feedback. We've gotten some topics that people wanted to hear more about, like some of the topics we covered today with disrupting yourself and disruptive innovation, as well as teamability. So we've covered quite a bit in the last 2 years, and the feedback has been great.
So what other benefits? You've connected with your peers a little bit more, worked through some
That was
issues.
actually an unexpected benefit for me. I assumed we were all coming together to share where we saw gaps in the new product, right? And we were going to talk about how then to influence SAP to adopt some of that into the standard product. But actually, through a lot of our discussions, as we were collecting topics from the groups, there was a lot of sharings of implementation experience. And if there was a particular gap identified on the list, maybe another company had found a way to solve it already. So it was actually a great way to exchange some lessons learned and some other experiences that were able to maybe alleviate something that we thought was a gap that no longer is.
One of the perceptions, and maybe it was a misperception, was that maybe you shouldn't virtualize your production systems with SAP. That seems to have kind of gone away, but did you confront that as you started on your journeys, and how'd you deal with it?
I think the confrontation was probably non-existent for us. We had learned so much around virtualization of mission critical assets in the past. For us, SAP was new in our data centers. While we had some of the acquisitions through the years where the MC had SAP and a little bit of experience, there wasn't really a lot of virtualization of SAP. So for us, the new experience came with how does SAP operate in a virtual environment? And is it any different than some of the other experiences that we've had? Happy to say that the experiences we've had now 9 months post go live it's the same. Take advantage of it, reap the benefits, see the rewards, and continue to move forward.
Today you talked about the edge in your keynote. How does that play with Leadership 2.0? How does that play with our members?
Well, edge is about a number of things. And of course, the metaphor is being out on the edge. You know, we had one of our fantastic customers, REI, who did a testimonial today. And of course, you can't think of a better brand to share the stage with the concept of edge. Right? But the idea of edge is about having the guts to get out there on the edge and do something disruptive, to do something unique, to do something that perhaps has not been done before. And at the same time, to get out there on the edge and it's not just about how unique it is, it's about how valuable it is. So it's really about understanding the limits that you have and then extending past them. So the edge is a constantly moving, it's an iterative line for you. And I think, of course, it's a new tagline for ASUG. We're evolving. We've gone from talking about real experience and real advantage to using that as a platform that now creates this ability to find your edge. And I think when you bring it back to a program like this, like Leadership 2.0, and you've got such a great example of leadership with Lisa, it makes so much sense for people to understand, you know what, my edge can constantly be a little further away than I thought. And while today I am in this spot, I can lead myself, I can lead my team, I can lead my company to yet another destination and another destination. And at the end of the day, if they get that from this program, then we have hit it out of the park.